Hello and welcome to today's session of Every Mark Matters with Miss McDonald. Today we're having a look at Edexcel History Paper 2, the American West, and we've got an absolute peach of a question today. Our exam question of the day is explain one consequence of the concept of manifest destiny for migration, 4 marks. This is an absolute dream of a question, both in terms of the actual question itself, but also the topic is great. So let's begin I'll break up this question to look at what is the exam board actually after, and more importantly, how do we get 4 marks on this type of question. So first and foremost, let's have a look at the command phrase. So our command phrase for this question is explain one consequence. And what that means is how did X lead to Y? And just to clarify what I mean by X is that's the event or concept. So in this instance, it's manifest destiny. Okay? And again, just a massive polite reminder, it can be good or bad. You know, if I buy a lottery ticket, a consequence of that could be winning the lottery. Alright, however, exceptionally unlikely. Alright, so let's have a look at the next element, and that's our focus. Our focus of the question is manifest destiny. Manifest destiny is a really easy topic. So why don't you take the time now just to annotate the word focus with what you know or what you remember about manifest destiny. If you're struggling and you feel you need to have a look at some textbook, revision guide, history book, online resources, feel free to do so. But press pause, come back to me as soon as you're ready, and I'll see you shortly. Okay, right, so let's just start with a really simple thing. So I think we should just start by defining what manifest destiny is. Alright, and manifest destiny is the belief that white Americans had a God-given right to claim the land in the West. Alright? So it's a very religious concept, but it's a belief that they had a God-given right to claim the land in the West. So now we need to think about, well, what groups go West because of manifest destiny? And there's absolutely tons you could refer to. You could refer to the Mormons in 1846 to 47. You could refer to the Exodusters. Again, they're the African Americans whom are moving west because, you know, they not only do they believe that they have a right to move west, but also they believe that they have a right to the land, similar to the white Americans. Again, you could talk about the Donners. You know, the Donner Party, again, they are influenced by manifest destiny to go west. They believe that that land was theirs. So loads of great stuff here, loads of great knowledge that we can use for this type of question. Right, let's have a look at the second order concept then. So our second order concepts, a reminder, you don't need to memorise these. These are concepts created by the exam board and really clever people about how to present knowledge. And our second order concept is consequence. Okay? And when teaching the American West, what I do is I teach you through 5 consequences. Alright, and I often chant these in the classroom. Alright? So my first consequence is a conflict. Cattle industry. Crime. Increased settlement. And indigenous peoples. Way of life. Okay. So take the time now to think, well, which of those consequences are directly relevant to the manifest destiny? Okay. So, yeah, give yourself 15 seconds to have a bit of a think about that. Okay, right. So let's think about this here then. So, is conflict relevant when it comes to manifest destiny? Loosely, but I think for the sake of ease, I'm going to say no. Is the cattle industry relevant? No. Is crime relevant? Again, it's got a loose link because people go over there, massive populations, but then again that because there's so many people there, there's not a great deal. There's a huge amount of crime and poverty. It could be relevant, but just for now, I'm going to say no. Increased settlement, yes, absolutely. That's a prime example of that. Indigenous people's way of life. Again, it's very similar to conflicts and crime. You've got a loose link, but I would say increased settlement's the easier one. All right. So in essence, what we're going to do then is we're going to tailor everything around that increased settlement. So a huge comment here, or a huge thing to identify here. This is a 4-mark question. So that means you need to spend 5 minutes doing this. And you only need to write down 1 paragraph. Okay? Right, and if we think about the exam board and what the mark scheme is after, I'm just going to write success criteria here. And do you know what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to structure it as a bit of a tick box. So I'm going to put 4 ticks. So to get full marks for this is what you need to do is you need to state / match the correct consequence. You need to bring in 2 precise facts. 2 precise facts. You need to say why, or you need to say how. You need to say why. Okay? What I tend to do when it comes to this type of question is I tend to put my why here after I've stated the consequence. So once I've worked out the correct consequence, I say why it fits. Then I bring in 2 precise facts and then I say how it got to the consequence. Alright? It's not the end of the world though. Alright? So, and again, just to demonstrate how I might do that, is if this is my first sentence, so 1 consequence of the concept of, I'm just going to put MD, for migration. Migration was increased settlement. Now, what might happen is you might actually get a really generous examiner who might say, yeah, do you know what, that is actually 1 mark. But I suspect what will actually happen is you might get a really prickly examiner. So what you need to do is just to guarantee that 1 mark is you need to put the because in there. Alright, it's more likely that you'll get a prickly examiner. So I would suggest it's better to say 1 consequence of the concept of manifest destiny for migration was increased settlement because. Alright, and what you're doing there is you're stating and matching the consequence. You're saying why within that sentence, and you've basically got 2 marks that the prickly examiner can't deny you. Okay. Press pause, put your revision resources away for now, take the time, set yourself a 5-minute timer to have a go at answering this question, which is explain 1 consequence of the concept of manifest destiny for migration. Press pause. See you in 5. Bye-bye. Okay, welcome back. You can probably see here that my purple pen began to run out of ink, so we'll work it out as we go. And what I am going to do is I'm just going to tick these off. So I'm just going to put one in a circle, another one in a circle every time I do it. Remember, what we're looking for is, before I start reading it out, I need to state and match the correct consequence. I need to have two precise facts. I need to say how, I need to say why. Our question, that hopefully you've just been answering, is explain one consequence of the concept of manifest destiny. Right, let's have a quick go. So, explain one consequence of the concept of manifest destiny was increased settlement in the West. I'm just going to put provisionally a 1 in a circle just there. So stated and matched to the correct consequence. Now, hopefully, I'm about to say why. This is because it motivated inspired settlers / pioneers to move west and claim land. Right, perfect. There's my why. There's my second mark. I know from my own knowledge that manifest destiny was the belief that Americans had a God-given right to claim the land of in the West as it was theirs. Right, there's my third mark. This inspired groups as the Donners, Mormons, Exodus, and the Donner Party. Right, perfect. This contributed to over 400,000 people moving west to claim the land and overall increased settlement in the West. And there's my how. So nice and simple. If I just go straight back to my success criteria, have I stated and matched the correct consequence? Yes, I have. Have I brought in two precise facts? I absolutely have. Have I said how? Have I said why? 4 out of 4. Dead easy question. If you want to take the time to again revisit that success criteria and self-assess your own. But 4 out of 4, dead easy. Thank you again, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.